Okay, and we are live. Hey everyone, this is your average Jen. Joining me today, I got Rody J, the Atom Head, and the Sober Heathen. And I'll have another guest joining once she puts herself all together.
How's everyone doing tonight?
I'm doing good. It's a miserable day here in Wisconsin, though. It's like rainy and blah.
No.
It's the cat, of course.
Yeah, we got sunshine and beautiful skies up here in Minnesota today.
Damn, we got the Great Lakes representing.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. It's another beautiful day here in Michigan. Getting some rain right now, but it's supposed to be another beautiful day tomorrow.
That's what I like to hear.
Oh, you're in Michigan? For some reason, I thought you were in Florida, too.
Nope. I'm in the Mitten.
Okay.
Which is surprisingly East Coast time.
That's true.
Every day. Yeah. Hey, and we just met Rody J, so I'm not going to hold the fact that he's probably a Twins fan against him.
Yeah.
Okay, so see, we're moving up already.
I am a Packer fan, though, so there is that.
Ouch. That's all right. We can still be friends.
Yes, because I respect the Lions and what they've done.
It's all right. Go Dogs. That's all I got to say.
That's a pretty big flex right now.
All right. Yeah.
I used to follow sports. I just don't anymore.
Kirby up in Athens for sale. It is the most expensive home in the city limits to go up for sale. It's like $4.5 million.
Holy crap!
Yeah, I don't know where he's moving to, but it's got a beautiful place. Love your cat.
That's one of three. This one is Karma, and he's really a jerk sometimes.
Uh-oh.
All right, cat, you gotta get down.
Uh-oh, here we go. What's the over-under on I'm assuming Lindsay can hear me if she's dressed.
You guys gotta give me just a few minutes here. I'm gonna stay down, keep me off the chat, and then yeah.
Oh, we're live.
I know you're live. That's what I'm saying. Just keep me right here.
It's all right. We didn't announce the topic yet or anything.
You're good. No, you're fine. I'm gonna bring the computer. I just gotta fix my face, stuff like that. Get a shirt on, that stuff.
By all means, do your thing.
Alrighty, thank you so much. I'll be listening in though.
I love it.
All right, so today's topic is going to be, this was Jay's idea. I asked him what he wanted to talk about. So he said self-accountability. And I came back, I'm like, well, how about how hard life lessons are learned? And you can do one of two things. You can become bitter or you can become a better person from these hard lessons in life, not necessarily things that have happened to you, like tragic things. You can take away from that and be a jerk, or you can be a decent person and learn forgiveness. So I don't know what you guys have to add on the topic. We're just having to talk here.
Yeah. Well, self-accountability really is a life lesson all its own. At one point in my life, being over 500 pounds, I wasn't living life very well. I was making poor life choices the whole way through, and it ultimately cost me my life for 7 minutes. So starting to make better choices and holding myself accountable to the standards that I want to live has made a major difference.
Hell yeah. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Wow, that's a massive, how much, it's okay if I ask, how much have you lost?
202 pounds so far. I actually logged my whole fitness journey on Twitter under Accountability Nation.
Dude, that's amazing. It's amazing.
Thank you.
When in my previous life, I used to own a gym and worked with several individuals who needed to lose a lot of weight. And it's hard enough to just for the average person say, oh, I need to lose some weight. It's really hard to drop significant weight, man. That's impressive. Kudos.
It takes a lot of commitment and a lot of consistency and drive to get to those goals. I'm still working to get down. I'm 336 currently. I was 326, put about 20 pounds back on, knocked 10 of it off so far, and I'm continuing the trend in the right direction. But ultimately, my goal is 200, and the lessons that I've learned along the way have really helped keep me on track.
Yeah, yeah, you'll get there. You know, a weight loss journey like that is just like recovery, because everybody thinks it's just going to be, hey, we're going to lose weight at 1.1 pounds a week for the next 3 years, and dude, it is just
Yeah,
left and right, backwards, forwards, it's all over the place.
well, especially because I am recovering from an eating addiction, and that's from past childhood trauma and just trauma in general. My go-to was food rather than going to drugs. I mean, not to mention I did have a habit as a kid where I used a lot of drugs, and over the years I didn't do that anymore. And a couple years back, actually during the start of my fitness journey, I decided to quit drinking alcohol as well. And I'm a lot clearer in the head now, and not to mention I'm not putting all those extra empty calories into my body. I mean, there was a twofold win for quitting my drinking.
Yeah, man, it's great. It's great.
Yeah, recovery is hard. I mean, if that was your only job to do, but then you throw life in the mix and people forget about that. It's like you have life things to deal with. And if you don't deal with those things, like Adam says all the time, it's just going to keep repeating itself over and over again.
Yeah,
It's like you're never going to get out of the cycle. So it'd be nice to just break free of that, but it's not easy to do.
yeah, yeah. You know, I was talking with somebody a couple of days ago about the concept of generational trauma, generational addictions, generational curses, however you want to put it. And I think the generational part of it that you can break is that choosing to do something else, because I really don't think there's anything hereditary, like, and everything that I have come across now, to me, if there's any type of hereditary component to addiction, it is minuscule. And all it does is give you a couple percentage points higher chance of addiction becoming a problem in your life. It doesn't mean that it is going to be one. I think where the generational curse that you can break is not doing what you saw people as you were a kid growing up to work with your problems. It's going, you know what? That hasn't worked for the last, my parents, my grandparents, whoever, that didn't work for my aunt and uncle, whatever. I'm going to try something different and actually address the things that are going on inside of me and work on fixing those, because the answer is hardly ever out there. It's always in here. It always has been in here. And I'm going to go find that answer. So, yeah, that.
I'm not going to.
Yeah.
I'm not going to have any studies to back this up, but I mean, makes sense to me that trauma begets trauma. So if you have people that raised you that had a lot of trauma that they didn't deal with, and then you in turn deal with a lot of trauma, that's the hereditary nature of it.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense to me, because it's all over the place for these things. And one thing too, I call you Rody J. I missed.
Yeah.
Okay, so your story, just a couple minutes of it. I wanted to not to derail the good conversation we're having, but I took pictures of myself a month ago before I started a journey of my own. And so just because of what you're doing, I might actually share those when I take month 2 for some accountability, because it's a pretty inspiring story, man. I mean, 200 pounds is amazing. So good for you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Part of the reason why I actually log my fitness journey is for self-accountability, because I want not only to hold myself accountable, but also it shows other people what you can do when you're overcoming so many different obstacles in your life, and you never give up on those goals, and you're rewiring your brain in a sense and changing habits and all those things that go with that. Like when I started this fitness journey, I was like, I'm just dedicated to losing this weight. And what it ultimately became is me just completely rebuilding my whole life. I shattered my worldview, And I started changing everything in my life because what I was doing for the previous 40 something years wasn't working. And it's like, well, I'm not going to live another 40 this way. So we're going to try something new.
Yeah, that's awesome. Completely agree. Very cool. So what all, as far as your accountability nation, so what all are you, what all do you track? Like, what are you accountable for to yourself?
So for me, the biggest thing is better life choices. First off, when faced with a difficult challenge, figuring out what makes the most sense. And when that didn't work out the way I thought it would, taking that situation, figuring out what worked and what didn't, and learning how to do it better the next time so I don't keep repeating the same patterns over again. Those are some of the things that I track. And of course, on the weight loss side of it, I do step on the scale once a month. Also, I'm posting pictures regularly so you can see me from the 424 that I started with this last time I started the journey. Plus, I also post pictures when I was over 500 pounds for comparison pictures to show my progress. So that way I can show not only myself, but others what's possible even at my age.
Cool, man. That's awesome. That's awesome. I know so in my early sobriety, I used to track 5 things that I tried to hit, at least 3 of them daily. And I think, Scott, you call them pies and I call them spies. Is that right? Pies? Yeah. So I don't remember which one I added. I added 1 S into it. So for me, it was spirituality, physical, intellectual, emotional, and social. And every day I tried to hit at least 3 of those aspects, of those components. However, I wanted to categorize something. That was kind of that's how I tracked my own progression through sobriety and into recovery and trying to, better myself and self-development and everything. It was just something similar. Just, it's hard to track a metric when you're talking about sobriety outside of days. Like, everybody tracks days, like, oh, I'm, so many days sober. And I don't really believe in that concept. So I was like, I got to track something. And so that's kind of what I did.
Makes a lot of sense. And a lot of things comes down to just writing things down and looking back on it, keeping a live journal or keeping some sort of database of information to look back. Like, I've got stuff that I've written from the early on and I look back on it because I don't remember some of those things now because it's been a couple of years since I've been doing this. And to look back to where I was then to where I am now, there's a night and day difference.
Yeah, that's awesome. Cool.
That's what the Sober Heathen started as, exactly that. It was me documenting my journey through recovery. I mean, I started doing a video diary and then it grew into something else, but they're all out there in the ether. So anybody can go back and, they can verify what I've been saying and where I've come from.
It's good to have receipts.
Listen to your own stuff and reflect on it?
Not as much as I probably should. I go back and listen to some of the, my deep AA things, and I'm like, God dang, man, I have changed a lot. But yeah, I should really listen to the emotional ones because I know there's some out there that I shed some tears in early on, and I definitely should do that.
Yeah. Cool.
So what tools, like, how did you guys learn new tools for carving these new paths? Because growing up in a dysfunctional home and dysfunctions all around you, you don't know how to do anything different. So where did you guys learn new tools for coping with things?
That's a good question.
For me, one of the things that I've used is Audible, and at night I'll turn on a self-help book or a motivational book and let that play throughout the night while I'm sleeping, and that information seeps into my subconscious, and for some reason it activates things within me, and it's almost like subliminally I start doing these things I've never done before. And then I think back on it and I'm like, oh, it really could be those books that I'm playing at night while I'm sleeping.
Absolutely could be. Your subconscious is always listening. It like never shuts off. It's always taking in data. So that's highly possible.
Kind of like my cell phone.
Yeah.
Yep, absolutely. I don't know that I really developed any new. I guess mindfulness for me is a tool that I use a lot. It's to the point now where I would say it's almost automatic. So in my early sobriety days, I spent a lot of time. Like I get up in the morning, go to the gym before working out. Thankfully, I have a sauna at my gym, so I just sit in the sauna for 20 or 30 minutes and play some meditation music in my earbuds, and just sit there and kind of watch my thoughts come. I wasn't trying to not think about anything because that's impossible to do. But as thoughts would come by, I would go, "Oh, okay, that's nice." And I had this visual image. If you remember the movie Toy Story, and all the little green squeaky men that are in the claw machine, the claw.
Yeah.
I had this mental image of like a claw machine coming down, just moving that thought out of the way. And then another would come by and then move that thought out of the way. And so it's like I acknowledge the thought and let it go, and acknowledge the thought and let it go. And I probably did this for a year, 18 months or so. And it became second nature to the point that if I thought about alcohol in a way that was going to lead to something bad, it was like a red flag went off. I was like, hey, whoa, where'd that come from? And I could reverse the process of the thoughts, kind of try and dig down, figure out why that popped in my head, because you can't control thoughts. Thoughts are thoughts. You're going to have crazy, fucked up, way out of left field thoughts. And you just be like, that was interesting. It's what you do with them that counts. And so if you have the ability where you can just kind of, you're watching your thoughts as a third person, basically, you go, we sweep that one out of the way, or you go, hey, this is a good thought, let's explore this some more, then I think you're well on the way to being able to control your feelings and therefore your actions to a much higher degree. So if I had to pick a tool, it would definitely be mindfulness.
Sounds like a good tool.
It absolutely is. I a lot of nights before I go to bed, and it's one of the routine things that I'm working on getting myself back into, I take about a half hour for mindfulness. I stretch. I listen to, I start listening to an audiobook and go through my whole stretching routine and just relax myself before I get into bed. So that way, I'm not looking at screens. I'm not taking in any other information that I don't need to take in. And it's a way to relax. Most of the time, it's just like crickets and fire and sounds like that before I get into an audiobook.
Yeah. I like the shamanic drums.
I do as well. The binomials are huge to me, those binaural sounds.
Cool. I know Scott does some evening visualization.
Yeah, I have. I tried my best to. But yeah, we talked about that last night. Like, just, I kind of, like, I don't know. I was trying to sit here and think, like, where did I learn my tools? I have no idea. I think I was like playing chameleon.
Journaling.
Right. Well, I just started listening to people that, to use an AA line, had what I wanted.
Yeah.
And I just started taking a little bit of each thing that they were providing or they were offering to me. And journaling was one. I was like, by the time I hit my 4th inpatient treatment, I was like, okay, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing, pardon my French, but I need to try something. So I started writing shit down, and that worked. I started listening to music. I dove into, the Bible didn't do anything for me, so I dove into something else. I dove into the Norse mythology, and I was intrigued. And so that kind of carried me through that last treatment, and that got me out of a hole. So
Yeah.
I learned a lot just from listening to like you guys, because I refer to you guys as being on the other side of things, because that's just how I see it. So I learned a lot, and that's how I realized that we're really not different at all. But lately what I've been doing is listening to a lot of like near death experiences and things like that. And every little thing I learn, it just opens my mind just a little bit more. It's like I can see a bigger picture, like with every little thing I learn, but I don't know what to do with this information quite yet.
Yeah. I was gonna say, oh, what did you say, Rody J? You said something a minute ago. About self development, self help books, something like that. I did something similar, and I kind of got into it after I had established this kind of automatic observation of my thoughts. So I do a lot of driving, and so I was listening to a lot of Joe Dispenza. Of course, I'm blanking on the names now. David Hawkins. Who's my guy? My epigenetics guy, Bruce Lipton. So a lot of these guys, and taking in a lot of that information and going, this makes a lot of sense to me. And then as I was going throughout my day, I would catch myself thinking or doing something exactly like how they were kind of explaining. It's like, hey, you're going to get to a certain point where you realize that you're doing X because of Y, and if you can figure out how to change Y, you'll stop doing X. It was like just reactionary things, but also from a spiritual development standpoint, some of those near-death experiences I was listening to as well. And what I realized I was doing was creating this way of thinking about my life where everything that came in, I was kind of applying to self-development. So, it didn't really matter what the person's talking about. Initially, I was like, how does that really apply to my sobriety? How can I use that in improving my sobriety? And then it became, how can I use that to deepen my recovery? And then eventually it got into, how can I use that to deepen my understanding of myself and then my own spirituality? And so I think developing a mindset of self-improvement overall, where you can take any topic and see how it relates to you, is a massive tool that anybody can use. It takes some practice, and it takes a willingness to want to do it, because it doesn't just immediately happen unless you're some kind of savant. But I think everybody kind of gets there at some point.
It's about building habits and building better habits and routines. Like routines for me are very important, because it can take out some of the chaos in my life. And with the mental health stuff that I deal with, having chaos in my life can throw me off.
Yeah, absolutely. So have you read James Clear, Atomic Habits?
I haven't. A lot of my motivational stuff comes from like David Goggins and Jocko Willink and some of those guys that you'll hear on Rogan.
Yep. Yeah, I've listened to Extreme Ownership probably 3 or 4 times in the car.
Yeah, I love that one, and of course the 7 Rules for Highly Effective People. Yeah. That's been a big book for me as well.
Cool, I like it. I guess Lindsay decided to bail.
Maybe, I don't know.
Maybe she's listening. Like, where'd you go? Cool. So life lessons from hard things. I don't know. What's a big lesson anybody want to talk about?
So for me, one of the biggest life lessons I had to learn is that I can't turn to food for comfort to get me through situations. It was relearning behavior, replacing food, which a lot of people don't think about food as an addiction in and of itself. And it's probably pretty serious one in consideration where a lot of people wouldn't think about it. I didn't even know I had an eating disorder till about 1.5 years ago.
I got you. I mean, it's I don't have personal experience with it, but I can totally put the pieces together from a dopamine standpoint. Sugar, fat, salt, mouthfeel, texture associated with comfort.
Yes.
Obviously, I mean, it's a no-brainer. There are times I posted something right before we got on here about dopamine, and I put that link on there, the video we talked about last night, Scott. But there are times when I catch myself going, I know exactly why I am eating this right now. It's because it feels good in my mouth and it's making me feel good in the moment. And I just devoured 4 chocolate bars. They're like, okay, we gotta get out of here. We gotta step away. It doesn't happen near as much as it used to, but it still happens every now and then. So I have to be mindful about that as well. I feel you on that, man.
It's tough. I mean, don't get me wrong. There's still times where I get into that cycle where I lose control of what's going on in my life and depression hits and the revolving cycle of going back to food. I mean, and that's how I put the 20 pounds back on. So it's learning how to avoid those situations or at least better deal with them in the moment to help move away from the addiction end of it, because obviously addiction is for life. It's our choice on how we deal with that addiction.
Yeah.
It's a very profound statement you just made there, Rody J.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. It's always, I hate that it's like a double-edged sword. It's like, yeah, but you chose to eat it. Come on now. You're right, I did, but you don't quite understand the full picture. I hate that argument. We've had that quite a few times. Is it addiction or is it just poor learned behaviors and choices? So.
It absolutely is, and it filters into so many other areas of our lives when our addictions take over and they grab center stage. Like, the decisions that we could make wouldn't be ones that we would normally make if we weren't dealing with the addiction in its full form.
Right. I can see Scott biting his lip over here.
I'm just listening.
No? I thought I saw the wheels turning. I was like, okay, here we go.
Yeah. No, I mean, not yet.
All right.
Not yet. What were we talking about? Oh, you were talking about, addiction being forever. And I just, I told the story last night with Adam. A couple weeks ago or whatever, I made the decision. I was like, yeah, you know what? I'm going to drink. Just some things weren't going my way for a while. And I was like, I'm going to drink. I'm going to get it this day and I'm going to drink it this night. And that day came and that night came and I was like, oh, fuck, I forgot to get alcohol today. Fuck. And so I was like, okay, well, I'm going to do it this day and then I'm going to drink it this night. And that day came and I was laying in bed and I was like, fuck, I was going to drink today. So I don't know what that means other than other things are my priority. I still associate alcohol with making me feel better. That's obvious because that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to drink to maybe not feel better, but not feel at all. But then something else, other things that I have connected and other connections in my mind that I've made were more important than that. So yeah. I totally get the sentiment that, it's forever, but I keep hoping that there's freedom at the end of the tunnel. And that, to me, is as bad as it sounds to some on the outside, where it's like, oh, well, you wanted to drink, so you clearly need to do all the steps again, and you need to get a sponsor, and you need to do all these things over again. Or I had a thought, and it flew the fuck away, and I'm doing pretty damn good because I forgot to drink. I can tell you right now, 2 years ago, I would have never fucking forgot to drink. No. I would have made it happen. I would have had anxiety until the moment I had the shit in my bag. And then I would have had anxiety until I got it home and hidden. And then I had more anxiety and excitement and dopamine, all this excitement, all these fucking chemicals going until that shit hit my lips and I got that buzz. That didn't happen. I forgot. So yeah. I mean, we can easily go back to it. I get that if we make poor choices. But my hope, I don't know if it's possible, but my hope is complete freedom from it one day.
Yeah, I mean, the more I think about that, the more I think it would, it's just a thought. And you're like, sounds like a good idea. But like I said last night, there's something has changed within your own processing where that thought it wasn't powerful enough to take hold. Yeah. I've never forgotten to drink before. So for that to happen, I'm just like, the best thing about this is that you recognize it now. And you're like, damn, because the way I see it now is that for me, this is something that I journal and go and use as proof to show myself that I am way further into recovery than I probably thought I was. Like, hey, look, here's more evidence. Not this is a bad thing because I had this thought. It's like, no, this is evidence that my recovery is so strong that I decided I was going to drink, but I forgot to even buy it because that thought didn't stick around.
Yep.
So that's just
that is a level of progress that shows that you've taken a commitment to yourself and to keeping that lifestyle away from yourself. Yeah. And to the point that you're like, well, I was going to drink, but I got busy and other things came up. So you've been able to rewire the way you think. And that's how we get to freedom at some point in our life. I truly believe freedom exists in this scenario. It just takes the work on our part and the accountability on our end to get there.
Yeah. I mean, that's an identity change that you probably hadn't even consciously recognized yet. So that's a subconscious switch there. But I mean, to me, like I call myself effortless. I always mess this up at the end of the night. Effortlessly sober. Like I don't have to work at not drinking. But I understand that the issue with the dopamine is still there. So there's no cure for the way my brain reacts to dopamine and the way that it's going to latch on and that spikes it really high. Hence the stuff we just talked about, like with the chocolate bars. I mean, knowing when I'm able to recognize that, I go, oh, I know exactly why that's happening. I get away from this. So I think that it's absolutely doable for anybody to heal the traumas, heal the things that they're running from, to change their identity, to not requiring whatever the substance is that they were using for comfort. As long as you understand that that's not a cure in the fact that you'll be able to go back to those things. Like I don't ever think about alcohol unless we're talking about like we do tonight, like something like this. It's not like I'm going through my day going, all right, how am I going to avoid alcohol? I might have a thought, a memory of drinking something, like I was just downtown in Athens a few minutes ago and tons of partying took place there. I was walking around with somebody kind of pointing things out. So we had a laugh over the parties we used to go to, but there was never this feeling of, man, I miss the alcohol. There's never feelings of, I really need, a couple Tito's to make this day wash down better. That part of me is gone. But the part of me up here that will latch on to anything that's going to spike that dopamine is still there. And I think if you understand that, you can be recovered. If you don't understand that, then you're always going to be fighting whatever it was, even if it's just a little bit. You're always going to be fighting that addiction.
Some might say it's a spiritual war too, like that little tug from the devil was the thought of the alcohol, but then if you cast out demons or whatever, deliverance, it'll take the obsession away. I see you smiling, so yeah. I think you can relate or understand.
Oh yeah.
I didn't watch your guys' stream last night, so I didn't even know what you guys talked about.
Yeah,
we're boring.
What did we talk about?
Imposter syndrome. We talked about.
Okay.
We talked about is a relapse back to day one. That was what got the night going. Yeah.
Yeah, we don't ever really script anything. We just talk.
It's the best way to do it.
That's the best way to do it.
Yeah.
Well, I was trying to think of life lessons. So one of the things that I learned about myself going through my divorce is that I completely put confrontation in a locked box and like threw it in the ocean. Like I was not willing to have any type of confrontation whatsoever. And as everybody knows, that always just leads to more trouble. So one of the things that I constantly work on is standing up for myself is not really the best phrase to use because I'm not a pushover, but when there's something that I'm at odds with somebody else, it's making sure that I'm at least heard, because there are times when I'm just like, okay, fine, I'm still going to do it my way, but I'm not even going to have the discussion with you. I just wouldn't have the confrontation and just say fuck it. Now I make myself have the conversation, even if I plan on still doing it my way and I don't plan on cooperating or coming to some type of agreement at all. I at least will vocalize that. So that's been big for me.
That is huge. I lived that for 20 years. Sorry. I lived that for 20 years with my ex, who was very controlling and narcissistic. And I would avoid confrontation as much as possible, and having to learn how to have confrontation in a more healthy way and actually stand up for myself and say, well, no, I don't accept that. That's a hard thing to do.
Yeah. I feel you on that one.
I think one of the things that I've learned, I don't like confrontation either, but I've gotten like a little more brave where it's like, especially at work, it's like, I don't like people talking behind my back. So I just go up and ask them every day. It's like, all right, what did I screw up? And they just look at me like, what? How dare you ask this straight out? And if I hear like rumors about me, I'm like, so what's up? What's going on? Let's squash this. Cause I don't need that extra drama. I got enough in my life as it is. I don't need that on top of it.
Yeah, absolutely. So, what else we got?
So one thing that I do talk about is having a foundation. One of my core principles is the foundation of 3. Like my physical, financial, and mental health all have to be aligned, and in order for me to be moving forward and learning how to navigate when one of those is out of sync, like right now, and still be able to move forward and not let that set me backwards. Do either of you have anything like that where if you're out of balance in one area, does it affect other parts of your life?
Yeah, the whole reason why I wanted to drink was the financial side of it. I mean, that was the main, I'm sick and tired of looking at my bank account, a day or two before the next paycheck, and there's less than $5 in there. It's, but it's like I have to remind myself that the choices that I made for several years have led me to this situation. So I'm lucky to have less than $5 in my account and, a paycheck coming in. So there needs to be some gratitude and acceptance and all that other crap. Miley and I kind of talked about that. Well, I say crap because it's like, when those things start to eat you up, people always say, well, it could be worse. Okay, duh. Like, no shit, it could be worse. I get that. That doesn't change my bank account and how I'm feeling right in the moment. Fuck.
Right.
You know what I mean? So like, and it's terrible. It's just the things are getting more expensive now for everybody. And, I made these choices and, I want to be able to take Miley out to dinner. There's a freaking burger challenge that I want to tackle here in town, but it's a $40 plate. So I'm not going to do that. But, like I'm being whiny now, but I'm just saying, definitely the financial side of it is something I can't change right now. Like, being a felon and not having a driver's license makes it really hard to just go find a job that I'm qualified for. Because I can tell you right now, with my qualifications, I can make a lot more money than what I'm making right now. But the job that I have is fulfilling. So the one thing that I have changed since we're kind of talking about this, like the one thing I can change, you talked about the physical, financial, and I can't remember the other one, but I decided to go to the physical side of it, and maybe that'll compensate from what I'm missing financially. And then when the financial things come back, like, like I talked about this again with Adam last night, like I was benching 150, X amount of times last night. And today I bumped it up to 175, and I was down there doing reps before we got on. And it's like, I've never fucking lifted 175. I've never done anything like that. Yeah. So like, I feel great physically. I don't like the shape of the dad bod or whatever. And one person says the dad bods are in. I swear to God, I'm going to lose it. But anyway, I'm going to shut up now. But it's really nice that all these life lessons, these things that I'm doing, yes, this side is dragging me down, but this side is picking me up. So it's kind of balancing out, because when the money thing turns around finally, which it should, as long as I go to work every day, then all of a sudden I'm going to be physically well, and then the financially well, and it's going to be a good day.
That'll also help balance out the mental.
Sorry. So do you think that if you had gotten a job with like a very good paycheck right out the gate, do you think that would have helped your progress or hindered you? Would it have been a lesson learned to make more money right out the gate rather than have to go back a notch and learn how to be frugal once again, or for the first time in your life? I don't know.
Definitely not the first time, but that's a good question. And the answer I have for that is I don't know.
Yeah, I guess no one knows.
Yeah, I don't know. I the biggest part of the financial thing isn't me. I have everything that I need. My kids are back in my life. Miley's back in my life. I'm working. I have the important things. I can't provide for them the way that I want to. That's the problem. But she tells me all the time, because she's an angel on earth. They're getting what they need. I'm paying my child support again. I couldn't do that while I was in treatment, so I'm able to do that. Right. And those are all wins.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the quotes I like to throw out there is from Peter Crone. It says, "What happened happened and couldn't have happened any other way because it didn't." And so there are times when I should say, of kind of the three that you mentioned, for me, diving into spirituality was probably the most important for me, because I didn't really have any at all. And what I found out was that my, Southern Baptist Methodist upbringing actually didn't jive with what my actual beliefs are. And so discovering those beliefs, was an eye opener. And it kind of brought me some kind of like, what? I wasn't crazy all this time with the thoughts that I was having regarding religion and stuff. And I like that quote from Peter about things happening the way they happen, because I have this belief that we're all here to learn certain lessons, and our life choices dictate how we're going to learn those lessons. So had I not come back from the Air Force Academy, gone into a collegiate marching band and learned how to drink, instead of cocktails, chugging Tito's out of the bottle, I might not have gone down the road of alcoholism the way I did. But I feel 100% that somewhere along the line, I would have made a choice that would have presented the lessons that I needed to learn anyways. And so for me, when I start feeling kind of, down in the dumps about something, I think about that quote, or a lot of Alan Watts. I love Alan Watts. And kind of think about my life and what I've actually accomplished. Through my drinking career, after my drinking career, I've done a lot of cool stuff, and I've learned immensely about myself in the last 3 years, especially. So that kind of gets me back on an even keel and kind of grounded. It's like, you know what? You're okay. Things aren't going the way you want them to go, but the way you want them to go is not necessarily the way they are going to go. And when I remember that, just kind of chills me back out. So
I try to remember that in the moment, but it usually doesn't work.
it doesn't always work. Doesn't always work. That's for sure.
Well, it's one of the hardest life lessons to learn is how to control your emotions, especially when you're upset. That's the easiest way to trigger something to go wrong is an emotional decision versus sitting down, removing yourself, and making a logical decision.
Yeah. Absolutely. That's why I like, beliefs, thoughts, feelings, actions. If I can get my beliefs, if I can get rid of the negative emotional beliefs and replace those emotional traumas and get my subconscious where I think it needs to be and with everything, it's going to give me thoughts that aren't going to be reactive in nature. My initial thought will be to, oh, hold up, slow down, think about this. And I can tell you from experience that it happens. Because I used to be very reactive. It's like, you know what? Fuck it, let's drink. Fuck it, let's drink. Fuck it, I'm going to drink. I mean, that used to be my reaction. And, we talked about confrontation. I was a confrontational person. But again, it would be like, you know what? Fuck it, they're wrong. I reacted to everything, even if it was just internal and nobody knew it. But in working on all my emotional traumas and getting everything in line, my initial thoughts aren't reactive anymore. They're very much pause. Just think about this. So it takes training. I think it takes practice, but I think you can get there.
No, absolutely. It takes a lot of work, and a lot of the work is just us deciding that we want to find a better solution for ourselves. A lot of people don't want to take that task on because they're never ready. And this is something that I say to a lot of people on Twitter. It's like, when you're ready, you can accomplish near anything. You have to be ready. You have to have that ugly conversation in the mirror with yourself. Before anything can even start. Like, if you go into this thing half ready, you're never going to get the experience out of it that you need. It's the dedication to solving the problem.
Yeah. We talked last night we talked about intent last night, and how intent is having actions that are fueled with actual intent as opposed to actions that are just for an outcome. There's a big difference in how much you'll achieve there. If I have intent on what it is I'm trying to accomplish, I'm going to learn those lessons, and I'm going to actually invest into what I need to invest into to achieve the outcome. Whereas I just take action because I want an outcome without really the intent to do the work, it's not going to happen. It's like somebody who's like weight loss. It's like, yeah, man, I'm going to lose 30 pounds for this summer. Everybody does it at the beginning of the year. I'm going to lose 30 pounds. We go to the gym for 3 weeks and now we're done. So I took action based off of an outcome that I wanted, but I didn't have any real intent there to actually do it. So once you put that intent in, it's like, well, here it is, April 30th, whatever. It's raining outside. I don't really want to go to the gym, but I'm going to the gym.
Oh, yeah. Some of my best workouts have been on days that I didn't want to go to the gym. I made it there. And once I got through those doors, I'm like, I'm here. I'm not going to just put in minimal effort. It's like, I made it here. And it always seemed to be those are my best workouts.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool.
My brain just went silent, so I'm not sure what else to add or say.
That tends to happen for me at about this time in the podcast.
Absolutely. I was just sitting there thinking the same thing.
45 minutes is like the magic number, I think.
All right,
I agree.
Should we wrap it up then? so we can
Yeah.
call
Yeah.
so you guys can go to bed, call it a night.
Oh, I got gaming to do. I'm not going to bed.
Oh, fun. Do you play with
Were
your
you-
kids or do you just
Yeah, they're up north camping, so it'll be me and my buddy nerding it up tonight. Well, he might have to work tomorrow. I might be solo playing some Diablo 4 solo tonight. So
Playing what?
Diablo 4.
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. The Yankee came into your voice right there with the Diablo.
Yeah.
Diablo. I got you.
Wow. That's all right.
I don't think I have that Midwest accent.
Yeah, I was gonna say I guess it's more Midwest.
Oh, we definitely have that accent, sis.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
there's
So I started off my college career at the Air Force Academy, which is Air Force's version of West Point. It's out in Colorado Springs, Colorado. So here I am, born and raised in Georgia, going to Colorado. I didn't have a thick accent even, well, in high school, I didn't have a thick accent anymore. I mean, as a kid, I had a thick accent. But when you put 4,000 18 to 22-year-olds on a campus that's isolated from everything else, this entire new accent is born. So, we got people from all over the country, and then there's, another 400 or so from all over the world. So this cadet accent happens. And so it didn't matter if you were out of uniform and in town in Colorado Springs, and even if you were kind of a dirtbag cadet like I was and let your hair get just a little bit longer than it was supposed to be, somebody could pick you out just by the way you sounded. Like, you're not from Colorado. You're an academy kid, aren't you? You're a cadet. Just the way you sounded. So it's
All
funny.
right. Well, thanks everyone for coming on here. I'll have to address my troll when we're done with this. So.
Uh-oh.
So hopefully that wasn't somebody you know, but it was like,
Oh yes, it is. So
it
yeah,
was 3 different times. It's like, oh man, that's cute.
yeah,
Cute.
it's okay.
All right.
All right. Well,
thanks
you
for
guys
having us,
have a
man.
good night.
Nice meeting you, Rody.
Nice
All right,
meeting you.
Good job.
hopefully we can do this again with Lindsay sometime. You'll have to give
Yeah.
me a hard time.
You have to give her a hard time for sure.
I just called her name, so we're good.
Okay. All right.
Bye-bye.
You guys see
All
it
right,
3 times.
We'll see it.
Bye.
Are you hanging out for a little bit? Oh shit! Let me end this.